June 12, 1962. A guard walked through Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary for what seemed like a routine morning inspection. Everything looked normal. The prisoners appeared to be asleep in their beds. But something felt wrong. When the guard got closer, he made a shocking discovery. The head lying on one of the pillows wasn't real. It was a carefully crafted dummy. Moments later, guards rushed through the prison. 3 inmates were missing: Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin. They had escaped from the most famous prison in America. More than 60 years later, one question remains unanswered. Did they drown in the icy waters of San Francisco Bay? Or did they pull off the greatest prison escape in history? Alcatraz wasn't an ordinary prison. Located on a small island in San Francisco Bay, it was designed to hold inmates considered especially dangerous or difficult to manage. The prison sat roughly 1.25 miles from shore. Surrounding it were cold waters, powerful currents, and constant surveillance. Many inmates believed escaping was impossible. Even if someone made it beyond the prison walls, they would still face the challenge of crossing the bay. Because of this reputation, Alcatraz became one of the most famous prisons in the world. But one inmate wasn't convinced it was impossible. His name was Frank Morris. Morris had a long criminal history and was known for his intelligence. According to prison records, he scored exceptionally well on intelligence tests and had previously escaped from other institutions. If anyone was going to attempt the impossible, it was him. Morris wasn't alone. He teamed up with brothers John and Clarence Anglin. The 3 men spent months secretly working on an escape plan. Behind the sinks in their cells were ventilation openings. Using improvised tools, including modified spoons and equipment adapted from prison materials, they slowly widened these openings. Night after night, they chipped away at the walls. To hide their progress, they covered the openings whenever guards were nearby. Behind the cells was an unguarded utility corridor. Once inside, they could move around areas of the prison that inmates were never supposed to access. But escaping the cells was only the beginning. The men knew they would eventually have to cross open water. To prepare, they collected raincoats and other materials. Investigators later concluded they used these items to create a homemade raft. And life vests. The escape required patience. One mistake could expose everything. Yet somehow, the prisoners continued their work for months without being detected. On the night of June 11, 1962, the plan was finally put into action. The inmates placed carefully crafted dummy heads in their beds. The fake heads were made from materials including papier-mâché and featured realistic hair collected from the prison barbershop. From a distance, they looked convincing enough to fool guards during routine checks. After lights out, the men climbed through the openings they had spent months creating. They entered the utility corridor behind the cells and made their way toward the roof. From there, they descended toward the shoreline. At some point during the night, they launched their homemade raft into San Francisco Bay. Then they disappeared into the darkness. Nobody knows exactly what happened next. The following morning, Alcatraz went into lockdown. Authorities launched a massive search operation. Boats searched the bay. Helicopters scanned the water. The FBI opened an investigation. Over the following days, investigators discovered items connected to the escape. Pieces of equipment and personal belongings were found floating in the bay. But the prisoners themselves were nowhere to be found. Years later, the FBI concluded that the most likely explanation was that the men drowned while attempting to cross the cold, dangerous waters. The official investigation eventually closed. But not everyone agreed with the conclusion. One reason the mystery survives today is simple. No bodies were ever recovered. Supporters of the survival theory point to several pieces of evidence. Over the years, family members claimed to have received messages and photographs suggesting the Anglin brothers may have survived. Some investigators have argued that, under the right conditions, reaching shore from Alcatraz might have been possible. Others remain skeptical. The waters around Alcatraz are cold, unpredictable, and dangerous. Without definitive proof, nobody can say for certain what happened. What is known is that 3 prisoners disappeared from Alcatraz in 1962. Despite one of the most famous investigations in American history, the mystery has never been completely resolved. Did they die trying to escape? Or did they succeed and spend the rest of their lives in secret? More than 6 decades later, the world is still searching for the answer. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe for more incredible true stories, mysteries, and survival tales from history. And tell me in the comments, do you think they survived?